This is Monday, the second week of Lent. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus said to his disciples, "Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Stop judging, and you will not be judged. Stop condemning, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and gifts will be given to you. A good measure, packed together, shaken down, and overflowing, will be poured into your lap. For the measure with which you measure will in return be measured out to you." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Sometimes at morning Mass, we get to some Gospels where I will say, this Gospel doesn't need any explanation. It's pretty straightforward. This is one of those Gospels. And again, it's a Gospel that calls us and speaks to us about relationship, how we deal with one another. Certainly, the thing that I like to always think of is God is kind and merciful. God is forgiving and just. If God is that way for us, should we not be the same way towards one another? I think the times that we're living in right now are very difficult. With the pandemic, here in Texas, with what we went through with the weather. And it's people, I think, need to be merciful and kind and loving and forgiving towards one another and speak well of one another and not judge. It's so easy to fall into the trap of doing these things, but it's really not of Christ. And Christ, when we look at how he ministered and how he served, he went to people without judging them. He went to people because he loved them. He sought to do the loving thing always. And by his love and by his mercy and by the way in which he treated them, it brought forth change. And I think that's what we need to look at in our lives. By loving one another, by not talking about people, by not judging people, by not condemning people, by our acceptance and our loving of one another, others will come to see that, and I think others will come to then hopefully come to a deeper understanding of how they are lovable and how they are acceptable, and in turn will do the same thing. And I think when we do that, it also brings about a change in ourselves, to move from people that might be judgmental or condemning to people who are more loving. Because I think the way in which we do that towards others will certainly come back to us. If people see us as judgmental and unforgiving, I think that's the kind of behavior we will get back toward us. But if we are people who are loving, caring, forgiving, honest, I think that comes back to us. Let us always imitate Christ. Let us look to him for our model of how we are to relate and how we are to love one another.